Hello everyone. So do you want to bring your Flutter apps to life with smooth, eye-catching animations? In this video, in few steps, we are going to go from static screen to dynamic transition, even mastering the dynamic hero effect that wows users. So from here, I have a simple overview of what we are going to be creating by the end of this video. We are going to talk about implicit animations. We are going to talk about explicit animations, where we are going to dig deep into advanced, which is the custom animations and hero transitions. So from this, we have the basic implicit animations, where we'll be covering implicit animation to use animated container to expand an image like a widget and also reduce it. Then we have the opacity animation to toggle and fade widgets from visibility to invincible. Then we're also going to talk about animated crossfade, where we can switch from one widget to another widget using animated crossfade. These are all under implicit animation. Then we're going to move it further into explicit animation. And here I'm going to show you guys how to use explicit animation to rotate an icon 360 degrees. So you can use it to animate any widget in Flutter if you want to rotate it in 360, 90, or 60 degrees and all that. You can start and stop the animations. Then we have the advanced custom animations. Here I'm going to show you guys how to animate a bouncing ball. You're going to bounce it from top to bottom, just like you can see in the screen. Then finally, we are going to look at the hero widget. This is the widget that wows users. So we can navigate from one screen to another, adding this cool animation effect from one screen to another. So guys, if you are ready to learn all of this, let's get started. Welcome to this Flutter animation tutorial. Animations can make your app feel polished and engaged. In Flutter, animations are divided into two main types. We have the implicit animations, which are simple pre-built transitions in Flutter. And then we have the explicit animations. This one gives you more control, gives you custom behaviors. So we are going to start with the basics and work our way up to the custom advanced examples. So from here, you can see we have the folder structure for this. I've already outlined everything. So I have the custom animation. I have the animation, explicit animation. So I'm going to be writing the examples here. I have the hero animation. I also have the explicit animation. So these explicit and custom animations, they are more like the same thing. So I think I'll just move this into this directory like this. And then we have the implicit. We can have the hero. I'll just separate it. So here we are going to start with the implicit animation, which is a basic implicit animation. So implicit animations are great for beginners because they handle the animation logics for you. You just need to specify the start and end states, and Flutter will animate between them. You can also add durations that you want in the animations to, like how long you want the animation to start. So first we are going to start with animated container. The animated container widget smoothly transitions between property changes like size, colors, and padding. So I'm going to show you guys a simple example with animated container. So right here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to navigate into the screen whenever we tap on basic implicit animation. So I'm going to go to the home directory. So right here on the on tab, I have my navigator.push. Okay, so right now when I tap, it's going to take me to a fresh new screen. So here in the implicit animation, make sure you use stateful widget when you're working with animations. Then here I'm going to use scaffold, and I have my app bar that will just say explicit animation. Okay, so I have a body widget. So first, since I want to work with animated container, I have my column here and I have my children. So the first child is going to be animated container. So basically what I want to achieve here is I want to create a box that can grow and change color whenever we tap on it. Okay, so first I have to use my animated container. Okay, and inside the animated container I will create the height and the width. So for now, let's say I have my animated container widget. I need to specify the duration, like how long I want this to animate, which is 1 second. You can update it to different durations. You have minutes, days, hours, and milliseconds. But since it's animations, you can only work with these three, to make things sweet, or you can work with minutes. So using hours and days is going to take a longer time. Then here we're going to specify a width. Let's say the width of this container is around 200. And the height of the container is also 200. Okay, then I have a color, say colors.blue, and I'm going to save this. Now you can see we have this our animated container. I'm going to align it to the center of the screen by wrapping this column with a center widget like this. So looking at this is just a normal container. Nothing, there's no animation, it's not changing its value, it's not changing any state. So now what we are going to do now is we are going to add a tapping to the container to toggle between the width and the height, and also to change the color. All right. So this animated container, it animates its property, like it's going to animate the width, the height, and the color over this duration. So the first thing I want to do, I'm going to wrap this animated container with a gesture detector. So whenever we tap on this gesture detector, it's going to perform an action. So first thing, I'm going to create a variable that says is expanded. So by default, that variable is going to be, because we need something to, like a state that is going to listen to when the values are going to change. So I'm going to set this is expanded to false. And whenever we tap on it, what I'm going to do, I'm going to set the state. I'm going to reset the state. So if it's initially true, I'm going to reset it to false, and just like that, I'll reset the value. So what this is, I'm resetting the value of expanded to the reverse of it. So if it was true before, I'm going to set it to false. If it was false before, I'm going to set it to true whenever we tap on the container. So under here now, I'm going to create the values that happens when we tap on it. So in this width, I'm going to check if is expanded, then we are going to return 200, else I'm going to return 100 for the width. So watch what happens when I tap on it. You can see how it's shrinking, and when I tap again, it's expanding, just like that. So we can also do the same thing for the height. If it's expanded, make it to be 200, and else we'll make it to be 100. Now you can see how it's shrinking and is expanding whenever user taps on it, and with cool animation. We can also do the same thing for the color. So if we say is expanded, we can return colors.blue, else we can return colors.red like this. So you can see how it fades the color out. So this is just like a basic animation. And there's something else we can add, which is the curve. So the curve defines the animation pacing. So if we use, say we use curves dot ease in out, this is going to make the start and stop to be smooth. Let's say ease in out. There's a lot of curves that you can use in Flutter, right? This, if you hover on this animated container, it has a lot of, it's just like your normal container, but now it makes it animated. You can add your decoration, you can add a lot of things. You can also have your curve. By default is linear, so we are changing it to ease in out. So see what happens. You can see how is different from others. We can also use bounce if we want, say bounce in, something like this. You can see how it's flickering, like you can see how it's bouncing from the in to out. So just like that, it gives us that smooth feel. So let's reverse it to ease in out. So that's one of it for basic animation. There's also other things that we can work with. We can work with animated opacity. We can work with animated crossfade and a lot of it. Okay. So let's move forward and talk about animated opacity and also talk about animated crossfade. All these are implicit animation. There are a lot of animation widgets and Flutter that you can explore. So we are going to fade a text using animated opacity. So the next example is, I'm going to duplicate this. Okay, I'm just going to duplicate this. And so I will have two values. Let me add spacing here. Let's say spacing to be around 20. So now what I'm going to do, instead of is expanded or instead of animated container, I'm going to be using animated opacity for this. So looking at this, okay, I think to make things clearer, let me just start from the beginning. So I'm going to use animated opacity. You see, we have animated builder, animated align, grid, icon, a lot that you can work with. So we're going to use animated opacity. So with the opacity, it has values ranging from 0 to 1. So for now, let's set it to 1. I'm going to explain that later. Then we also need the duration. Duration is very important when you're working with animations. Then I have a child, which I'm just going to say, let's say, hello, Destiny Ed. And I have my style widget here. My style property, font size, I'll just increase it to say 30. So let's save that. Now you can see we have hello, Destiny Ed. So looking at this now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a button that I'm not going to use this gesture detector anymore. So I will just remove this widget. So just underneath it, I'm going to create a button. Let's add a size box first. Elevated button. Here I have my child that says toggle test. Toggle test feed. Just like that. And we'll save it. Now we have the button here. So I'm going to make this to be around 10. It's too much. So whenever we tap on this, it's going to fade this test widget. It's going to fade it. It's going to change the fading, the transparency of each child. So here we have the opacity set to be 1. So when it's set to 1, that means it's fully visible. But when it's set to 0, no, when it's set to 0, it becomes invincible. So the purpose of the button is to toggle between visibility and invincible, like to make it visible and invincible. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to create is visible property, like a variable here, just the way I did for expanded. So this is going to be is visible. By default, is going to be true because we want it to be visible when the users come to the screen. Okay. And when we tap, we are also going to do the same thing that we did here, which is set state is visible. We are going to change the value to the reverse, which is visible. Okay. So save that. Now in the animated opacity section, we are going to add the is visible to change between visibility and invincible. So right here, I'm going to check if it's visible, then we are going to return the value of 1.0. Then if it's not visible, we are going to return the value of 0.0. Now watch what happens when I tap on this. Tapping on this now, you can see it fades out. And when we click, it displays again, just like that. So that's more like how it works. And you can also add other things as well, which is you can add the curves, just the way we did for this one. We can implement curves with ease in, out. So you can see how it's fading. That's another implicit animation that you just... So that's it for animated opacity. So the final one that I want to talk about implicit animation is animated crossfade. So this helps us to switch between two widgets with a crossfade effect. So first we need the animated crossfade transition. It's going to transition between the first child and the second child widget. Then the crossfade determines which child is visible or not. So what I'm going to do here, I will create a variable first, which I will call show first. So like to know if we are going to show the first widget or not. Then moving on, I'm going to come down here, just like we have this one here. I'm going to animated opacity ends here. This one continues from here, and this one ends here. So right here, I'm going to put the crossfade. So inside the crossfade, first thing I want to do, I'm going to use the animated crossfade like this, okay? And then first, we have to specify the first child widget that we want to show. I'm just trying to keep everything basic in this example, but it's going to give you an idea, to do some other, advanced ones. So we have the first child. Say we use a container and we use a width of 200 and a height of 200 with a color of green, okay, for this one. Then we also have second child. I'm going to duplicate that and change the value to second child. Now the color is going to be red for the second child. Now it's showing errors. The name parameter crossfade state is required. So by default, let's set the crossfade state to be crossfade state dot show first. So it's going to show the first widget. Okay. Then we have to specify the duration. Duration is very important. I told you that already for every animated widget. So we have the animation here to be 0. So this is the first child. If we show, let's say, show second child, this is going to be the second child, right? So now let's handle the crossfading. So I have the button here to toggle between the crossfading. So I'm going to put it just below this one here. And now the test is going to be switch fade, switch widget like this. And from here, I'm going to change this one now to show first, and then replace this to show first. So I'm just toggling the value true and false and all that. So remove this final from this. So going back here now, what happens is whenever I type on this, tap on this button, I want to switch this widget. So what I'm going to do here is just a simple check. Show first. If it's true, we are going to show first. If it's false, then we are going to show crossfade dot show second. This has a lot of properties that you can also look at. You have the first curve, you have the second curve, you have the size curve, top center. You can just work on all these things to see how it behaves. So when we click on switch widget, you can see now it's switching the widget from the first to the second. It's just fading it from the first widget. Is giving us that transition between the first child and the second child. Okay, just like that. So this is pretty much it for the basic animation. Here we have the simple animated container. Here we have the animated opacity. We have the animated crossfade. So there's a lot of implicit widgets that you can explore, learn more about them. So this is just the basic idea on how you can work with implicit animations in Flutter. So now we are going to move to the next stage, which is explicit animation. Explicit animation gives you full control using animated or animation controller and twin. They are more complex, but they are highly customizable, right? So the first thing we are going to work on is rotating an icon. We are going to rotate an icon by spinning it 360 degrees. That's the first example for explicit animation. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to go to the home screen here. So this intermediate is explicit animation is more like what we touched on here. We touched on the crossfade and the animated opacity. So I think I will just go ahead and remove this guy. Okay. So what I'm going to do here now is to move down to the explicit animation, and I'm going to change this to the explicit animation screen like this. Explicit animation screen. So let's go to our explicit animation screen. So make sure when you're working with animation that you are using a stateful widget. So here I have my scaffold. Let's just import all these and see. This is our button. So we just have hello Flutter, right? Explicit animation and start animation and all that. So this button is going to like rotate the value for us. So what we need here, first, we need various things to be in place. But I'm going to build out, this button is going to, play and pause the animation, which is okay. Then I'm going to create a simple test icon. We have hello test, and I also have an icon here. So the icon is just going to be like a star icon, icon.star. And this is the icon that we are going to be rotating 300 degree. So I'll be removing this hello Flutter. Or let me just leave the hello Flutter here. But this is the one we are going to be rotating 360 degrees. So what I want to do first is to create the different parameters that we need. So we need the animation controller. This helps us to manage the animation's timing. Then we need the twine. It defines the range of values 0 to 2 pi for a full rotation. Then we need the VSync. This it syncs the animation to the screen refresh rate, and it requires single ticker provider state mixing for this. So first thing I want to do here, I'm going to create the variables that we need. First, I need just as I said, I need the animated controller. I'm going to make it late for now because I'm going to initialize it in the init state. Then we need the animation, the scale animation. So I'm going to use animation with a value of double. We can call this animation. We can call this animation. Okay. Then I told you that we need the single ticker state mixing, right? So I'll show you why we need that. So let's use init state to initialize these variables that we just created now. So the first thing I'm going to initialize is the animation controller. So I have the animation controller. We have the animation value. Then the seconds that is going to animate is just 2 seconds. So you can change it to 1 second if you want. Then we have the VSync. So you can see this VSync now is requiring this. The argument type, this is not available because we need to put the ticker provider mixing, right? We need to extend it like using the width keyword is a mixing. So what I'm going to do here, just in our class, extend this one. Inside here, I'm going to use with single ticker state provider state mixing. Single ticker provider state mixing. And you can see now the error is gone for this. I already explained why we needed this. So you can rewind back to just move the video back. You're going to understand why I'm using this because I explained it. So here we have to initialize the animation as well. So with the animation, we need a twine. And we specify the begin, where we want it to begin from, and the end. So for this, since we want it to rotate 360 degrees, we are going to use from 0 to pi, right? So we have 2 times pi value is around 2.1, right? 2.14. Let's just let's not approximate it. So let's just get the full value of the pi. Then we animate, then now we pass the animated controller that we just initialized inside here. Then once that is done, we can now do like to add listener. So as it's animating, we are just going to add listener that is going to cause set state. So we need to be rebuilding the widget every time that is updating. So we just need to call .add listener and then call set state. So this is pretty much it for the initialization and everything. And one other thing you need to do is make sure you dispose of the animation when it's not in use. So right here, we are going to call our animated controller .dispose. Okay. Then moving on, we are going to go back now to our icon that we need to animate. So in order to animate this icon, what we are going to do, we are going to wrap it with transform.rotate widget. So here I'm going to use transform we have flip, rotate, scale, translate. So you can work with a lot of things. So that's left for you guys to go and explore. But for this example, I want to rotate this 360 degree. So with the rotation, I need to specify the angle that I want to rotate it. So the angle is just going to be, let's say we have angle. Here I have the animation dot value. Okay, so we'll be using this animation that we just created and initialized here, dot value. So based on the value, it's going to animate the icon for us. So this is showing error because we are using late. So what I'm going to do, I'll just navigate back from the screen, just go back and then navigate into the screen again to initialize everything. So looking at this now, nothing is happening, right? It has not started. So in order for us to start the animation, we need to use, let's check if controller, let's animation controller dot is animating, or you can say, you can check if it's completed, is dismissed. So if it's animating, what we want to do is to stop the controller. Okay, but if it's not animating, we want to start the controller by calling animation dot, let's just call repeat. I think repeat works for this. So from here now, I'm going to tap it to start the animation. So you can see how we're just moving 360 degrees. If I click on it, it's going to stop the animation. If I tap, it will keep animating the icon. So this is pretty much how we can work with explicit animation. This is complex, but it gives us the ability to customize our animation values and all those stuffs. Okay, so this is pretty much it. You can make it to be running continuously just like that. Okay, so now that we are done with the first part of explicit animation, let's look at advanced custom animation. So we are going to, here we are going to combine multiple animations for a bouncing ball effect. So the bouncing ball, we are going to animate the ball's position and the size. So now that we are done with this explicit animation, I'm going to go to the custom animation widget that I created. So we have the, I think I duplicated a lot of things here. This shouldn't be here. Okay, so we have the advanced custom animation. So right here, I'm going to navigate to the custom animation screen. So we have the custom animation screen. And inside here, when we tap, it's just going to take us to this placeholder. So inside this placeholder, remember I told you that we're going to be building a ball, animated ball that is going to be bouncing. So we are going to, since we don't have any image, I'm going to use a normal icon. So the first thing we want to do, we have our scaffold here. We have our app bar that just says it's going to give us the bouncing ball effect, like bouncing ball title, sorry. Bouncing ball like this. So we are going to save this up, and inside the body, we are going to build out the animated body and every other thing that we'll be needing. So for this, let me have my body here. First thing I want to use let's say we have a container widget like this. Then I have my ball. So I will give it a height and a width of say 200 and a width of 200 as well. I will give it a shape. Let me give it a color first before the shape. So we have to add a decoration body here, boss decoration. And I have a color. Let me give it a color of blue, like this. So save it. I'm going to align it to the center of the widget by using center here. And inside here, I'm going to define the shape by using boss shape dot circle, like this. So now this is giving us that ball shape. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to be using different widgets. But before I do that, remember this is a custom and an advanced animation. So it's very important that we use the single ticker provider mixing. And also we need to create an animation for this animation controller. We also need to create the animation itself. Since what we are trying to do here is to animate the ball's position and size, I'm going to create the height for the animation and also the size for the animation. So we have animation here. So it's going to be a double. And here I have my height. And also I will duplicate this. So we have size. Okay. This is a little bit complex, but if you take your time, you're going to understand it. So we have our init state where I'm going to be initializing the controller. So the first thing I want to do is to initialize the controller here. We have the vsync, which is this. We have the duration of 1 second. Then we have the repeat. Let's just add this check, the repeat, because we want it to reverse. Since it's a bouncing effect, we are going to set reverse here to true. Okay, we're going to set reverse to true. So what this repeat reverse true means, it makes the animation to loop back and forth. Okay, it loops back and forth. So the purpose of the size animation that we created is to shrink the ball as it rises, adding realism to it, like to make it real. Then we need the height. We are going to use curves that bounce out, curves effect for a bouncing effect. Okay, so moving on, I have the controller, I have the animation and all that. So first I'm going to let me initialize the height animation here, just the way we did for explicit animation. We initialize the animation as well. So I also need to initialize the height of this animation. I'm going to be using twine, which is what we use to animate, same thing I did here. So we are going to use twine as well. Then you specify the data type, which is double, because we passed in double here. Then the begin is going to begin from 0, and the end is going to be 200. Then we animate what we are going to do here, instead of just passing this controller immediately, we are going to use curved animation. Then the parent is going to be the controller itself that we have already initialized. Then we are going to set a curves. We are going to use curves dot bounce out. Okay. Then I'm also going to do the same thing. Let me just duplicate it for the size. We need to initialize the size as well. So the size, we have the twine double, but now it's going to start from 50 as the initial size to say 30. Okay. Think we are going to reduce this size later. So let's just leave it like this. We are going to reduce the size later. Then we're going to use animate, curve animation. Then the parent is going to be the controller. Then the curve is not going to be bounce in out, but we are going to be using ease in out for a smooth effect. Now that we are done with this, remember I told you it's very important that you dispose of the controller. So we're going to call controller here dot dispose. Now let's build out the UI that is going to handle the animation for us. So in order for us to build the UI, we are going to be using a stack widget, because with stack widget, we are going to be able to navigate, like move, position the item anywhere around the screen. That's the purpose of stack widget. Then we're also going to be using animated builder. So the animated builder rebuilds only the animated parts of the screen, thereby improving performance. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to wrap this body widget. We have our center, which is fine. I'm going to wrap this with, I think I'm going to wrap this with a, say, animated builder. Okay, let me just like build out these stuffs again. Let me copy this container out. So from here, I have my animated builder. Then I'm going to pass the animation. The animation now is this controller that we created, this animation controller. You can see which is the listener. I'm going to pass the controller here, and then the builder, where we are going to build out the widget that is going to be under it. So we have the context, we have the child like this, and we need to close this like this. So right here, I need to return. Remember I told you that we are using stack widget because it's going to allow us to like move the elements anywhere around the screen. So I need to put in now the container widget that I just copied, which is like this. This is showing errors, so you can go back and navigate back to the advanced screen. Cool. So with this now, what we can do, we have not added the animation and all those stuff. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to wrap this with a positioned element, like a positioned widget, so we can position it anywhere around the stack widget. Then the first thing I want to set the bottom. The bottom is going to be the height dot value, because this is an animation. You can see height dot value, which is the animation, height dot value, this. Now you can see how we are getting this bouncing ball effect. Okay, so that's pretty much cool. Then the next thing I'm going to do now is to set the left value. So for the left, I'm going to use the media query, like the full screen size. Let's use the media query dot of context dot size dot width. Let's divide this by 2. Okay, then I'm going to subtract the size dot value and also divide it by 2. Okay, right, it's giving us what we need, but it needs to go up very well. So we still need other things to do. So this size now, we are going to use size dot value for the height. You can see how it's increasing and decreasing. Then for the width, we are going to use size dot value. Now it's now aligned in the center. You can see how it's bouncing. It's giving us that bouncing effect, just like that bouncing effect, which is pretty much what we are trying to achieve. So far, it's pretty much good. And we have been able to create a simple bouncing effect animation. This is more like an advanced one. So you can go on and customize this the way you want, just to make everything work perfectly. Okay. And we can also, let's say we want this height to fill the whole of this space. Okay, we can do something like, say we have this our value. We can do it here, for instance, and we can change this now to be height divided by 2, like this. Then this is going to be height dot value divided by 2. You can see how it's moving, like so. Okay, so I urge you guys to experiment with other implicit widgets like animated padding or animated position and a lot. And also you can combine multiple animation controller for complex sequences. I'll be creating more videos around complex animations later in the future. Okay, so this is pretty much it. The next thing I want to talk about now is hero animation. So the purpose of hero animation is to transition between screen. Okay, with hero animation, we can transition from one screen to another. So hero animation connects a widget on one screen to a widget on another screen, animating its size, its position, and shape during navigation. So it is perfect for gallery app, e-commerce application where you want to view the details screen. You can now animate the image from the list or grid to the detail screen, right? Or any other transition where continuity matters. So let's work on hero animation with image transition. So what we are going to do first, I'm going to go to the hero screen. Here we have the first screen where we are going to navigate from this first screen to the second screen. So I created 2 screens already. So we can take this as our social, let's say our e-commerce home screen where we can see all products. And when we tap on the product, it's going to take us to the detail screen of the e-commerce. I'm just using that as instance. It's going to show the image. It's going to animate the image to the next screen. So what we are going to do here, I'm going to go to the home screen. So right here, I'm just going to change this guy now to hero animation screen 1. All right. So we can move back and click on hero animation. So inside this hero animation, what we are going to be doing, first, let me just return the scaffold. Okay, I think this is already giving us some kind of properties as well. So let's leave it like this. We have these assets. I think it's better we use network image. So make sure you are connected to the internet. So I'm going to be using, I think we can find placeholder. There's this image placeholder. I think I used it in my previous tutorial. So we can use it like this. So it's better you use image, cached network image for stuff like this, okay? Cached network image is pretty much good. Okay, this is showing socket exception. I think this is more like an internet issue here, or the image is not available. So give me 1 second. Let me just look for an image online that we can use.
A few moments later.
Okay, for this example, I just got an image from the internet. So now you can see we just have a network image here. So whenever we tap on this image, we are going to, no, I'm going to create a button. Whenever we tap on the button, it's going to navigate us to the next screen. Don't worry, this was auto-generated. So watch as I create what we need. So for now, let me just create a button. And here I'm just going to create an elevated button. So the purpose of this elevated button is to navigate us to the next screen. So we just have this, which is going to animate us to animation widget 2. And this widget is just going to be a test widget. Move to the next page like this. Okay. So looking at this now, I've not started the animation yet, but since we want to navigate our image from here to the next screen, maybe you're working with, you can decide to make this a constructor. So you're going to pass the image inside here and also the hero tag so that it's going to be unique. So let me come here. Inside here, I'm going to create a parameter that says string hero tag, and it's going to be required since we want to navigate to the next screen. Hero tag, and also the image that we want to navigate, string image URL, and we want to animate to. So we have image URL, right? So now moving on, what I'm going to do here is just to give you guys a brief explanation of what the hero widget does. So with the help of the hero, I know this is showing errors now, so let's just leave it like this for now. Let's say hero tag empty, image URL empty. So with hero widget, it wraps the widget you want to animate. So we want to animate this image, which is image.network. So we are going to wrap it now with the hero widget, which we just did. So the tag property that hero widget has must be unique and identical on both screens to link them. So if we are using the image here and wrapping it with image, even in our screen too, we also need to put our image and also wrap it with image. So let me just have an app bar here. And here I have a scaffold. I have my app bar. And here I have my body widget. So this is just going to be a center widget with a child. Then we can just have the image.network image. Then we have image URL. So it's going to be widget.image URL that we are getting. Okay. So first, let me show you guys an example without the hero widget. So I'm just going to remove this widget and save it. So watch what happens when I tap on this. It moves us. Okay, no host specified in URL. Wow, that was an error. Let's quickly go and see what happens. Image.network widget. Okay, so we did not pass the image URL, which is bad. So I'm just going to create a local variable here that says image, and then I'm just going to pass the image link like this. So it will be easier to work with. So we are just going to pass the image directly under this, and then the image URL, we are just going to pass it here. So whenever we tap, it moves to the next screen. You can see that this is not animated. It's just moving like a normal transition, okay? So now we're going to add the animated effects using the hero widget. So the first thing we want to specify is the tag. Just as I said before, the tag property must be unique and identical on both screens in order for us to link them. So here I'm going to wrap this image widget that I want to animate with the hero property, hero widget, sorry. And the hero widget has tag, which is required. And this tag must be unique. Make sure it's unique because you might have different images with different, you might have multiple hero widgets, like multiple images like this, that you also want to animate to. Make sure their tags are unique. You cannot use one tag like this, like this, like this, for different, it's going to cause error, a lot of error. So you want to make sure you fix that. The reason why we're getting this error is because this is not wrapped with single child screw view, which is understandable. But having something like this is going to cause a lot of error. Make sure the tags are unique. If you have tag of 1, you need to use 2, you need to use 3, just like this. Okay, but in my own case, I need to keep things simple. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, instead of using values int, and most times if you are fetching from products, you use their ID to make them uniquely identifiable. But in this case, I'm going to use the image because the image is definitely going to be unique for every other value. So I need to use the image for this. So I'm going to save that. And from here now, let me add spacing to this to be 10. So from here, when I tap on this, it's going to navigate us to the, now it's passing the hero widget, but the tag is not passing because here I've not specified the tag. So since I'm also using image as the tag, when I navigate, it's going to now move the value to the next screen. Okay. But looking at this now, it's not giving us the navigation that we want. Okay. So now I'm going to add the transition. So the first widget that I want, let me just add a height and width to this. Let's say the image, I'm going to add a height, let's say width of 300, and also add a height of 300 and fit, let's say box fit dot cover. Oops. Nice. So now when we navigate, no, I think I need to reduce this to 150. Yeah, let it be 150. So the next screen is going to be bigger than this. So watch what happens. In the next screen, I'm going to design the screen for us now. So I'm going to go to screen 2. So inside screen 2, what I need to do now is to wrap this image.network with the hero widget as well. Then I'm going to add a tag. The tag is going to be the same thing, which is widget.hero tag. You can see that's the reason why I passed it as a constructor, because we cannot, know the tag from the next screen except we pass the constructor to pass in the value. Okay. Then this image width, I'm going to add a width of 300, the height of 300, and also add the fit, let's say box fit dot cover as well. So now watch what happens. I've successfully added the hero widget to the two values, and now it's going to animate them. So what this does, the transition is that Flutter automatically animates the image from the small size, which is 150 by 150 on this screen, to its larger size, which is 300 by 300. So it's going to adjust the position and the scale smoothly. So let's do this. We click, you can see how it moves. It moves from the top to the bottom. You can see how the animation is just like it's still one screen. It just moves it directly to the next screen. It doesn't jump like the previous one, like when we did not use, let's say I use a different hero tag here, for instance, and I try to navigate, it's just going to jump. You can see how it's jumping because the tags are unique. So if I make it the same, it's going to identify it and just animate it smoothly. So that's one thing, using animation. So let's say we want to customize this and hero a little bit. There's a property called flight shuttle builder. To customize the animation, we can add like say we want to add a fade or rotation. We use the flight shuttle builder property in the hero widget. So what this does is we just need to, in the hero widget here, we can just say flight shuttle builder, and it builds out this shuttle builder for us. It has the flight context, animation, flight direction, flight hero context, and all that. Then we can add a rotation transition to this. The tones, we are going to set the animation, and then we have the child. You can say to hero context dot widget, like this. So I think we need to add it to the two views, but let's see how you can see how it rotates. Okay, so this is pretty much cool. You can do a lot of things with animation. I think you can also add with, we have rotate transition, we have, I think we have scale transition, right? I've not really used this scale transition before, but I think we have scale. So with the scale, we can add the animation. So let's see how it works. We click, you can see how it scales from, you can see the effect, right? You can see the effect, how it scales. So that's pretty much it for this example. And so far, we have been able to see how to use different animations in Flutter, from basic, which is the implicit animation, to advanced and custom to hero transition. All right. So don't forget what I told you, that if you want to use multiple hero widgets, you need to make the tags to be unique. Don't forget that. It's very important. Okay. Here, there we have it, your crash course in Flutter animations. We have gone from basic boxes that grows and fade to spinning icons, bouncing balls, and even show-stopping hero transition. So guys, this is pretty much everything. If you love this video, make sure you like and follow, subscribe to the channel for more contents like this. And if you have any video idea that you want me to create, let me know in the comment section below, and I'm going to make it available in the next video.